So hey guys, it's David here from WorkingMouse. Today I'm catching up with Phil, the sales director of Tanda. So Tanda is not a client of ours, but they are a very successful software company based out of Brisbane, Australia. So Phil, if you just want to introduce Tanda and also the business, that'd be really good to start.
Yeah, easy. So the name Tanda, it's an acronym that stands for time and attendance. That implies where we came from. Our first product was a time and attendance device. That's for staff members to clock in and out of their shifts at work. The thing we did differently is we put it on a tablet. So traditionally that was really expensive hardware. And we made it something accessible to small businesses or businesses of any size for that matter. Where we've got to now, we've moved away from just the basic functionality. You imagine when you move sideways into that rostering, timesheets, payroll integration, to now being an all-encompassing platform that offers the whole suite of things prior to the payroll process.
Yeah, wow. So going back to that kind of first phase around the actual time and attendance, how did you guys get the people product fit and people actually paying for it and using it to kind of build momentum for that first phase?
Yeah, in the early days, it's really obvious what you should build. You just go, like we have a one-dimensional problem to solve. We built the app, and then our founders just literally called businesses and said, "We have X, Y, Z. Would you buy it?" To validate that there was a requirement out there.
Yeah. Right.
So they had some reasonable numbers. Obviously, you don't know until you actually ask for people to pay for it, which they luckily did very early on, and were able to sell a minimum viable product to the market to validate people need this and they're willing to pay. So.
Brilliant. So you guys had the internal problem, you built it internally, you solved that problem internally. You went, great, right, people are telling us we've got something we can commercialize.
Yep.
But before you actually went and did that, you guys called 10,000 people, is that right?
Yeah, so first year was 10,000 calls between the original founders,
Before commercializing?
Correct, yeah.
That's it. So you guys got the pre-sales, you had the warm leads, then you went and built the software, and you were telling me just before, you guys actually had people paying for it before you'd actually built it, right?
Yeah, correct. So before it was a public product you could go buy online, we had customers,
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome, mate. Well done. So what would you guys have done differently on your journey from phase one up to where you are now?
Yeah, so getting to where we are now, which is a platform that you can sort of customize yourself, you go through iterations of building product that are more prescriptive in how people should use it.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you encounter more use cases where people are going to require customization or workarounds to solve certain problems, which essentially in that process of building these like minimum viable features and testing them out and validating them and seeing if people are going to use them, you get the technical debt that comes from that. It would be deciding faster if you release a minimum viable feature and people are testing it. Do you drop it or do you build it out fully and not leave it in a semi-completed state? That's a really hard thing to do if you're being prescriptive. So we've now gone to the model of letting people define how they use the product, what they call things internally, so that we don't have to make those modifications for each and every person.
Yeah, because you can only be prescriptive up to a point, right?
Correct.
When you then have to trade
that point is generally people who have high willingness to pay and very large organisations, and then you can no longer be prescriptive. They have unique requirements.
Exactly right. Then you have to make decisions that are effectively going, right, okay, well if we make this decision, that's not going to satisfy them, it'll satisfy this group. So what you guys have done there is you've learned from that on your journey and gone, right, let's not be prescriptive, let's enable the customers to do what they want to do. And you've effectively given them the tool set on the application, the web application, to be able to customize it into what they want it to be, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
You're giving them the workflows, the business process, the data behind it to do that.
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Well done. So for any SMEs or people out there have a business problem, I think this could definitely be solved with software. What would be your key recommendations for them going forward?
So in terms of commercializing their own idea, I mean, the market validation, I guess, is really the key thing, and you don't actually have to have the software to figure out necessarily whether people have a willingness to pay for it. I think it's entirely plausible that you could go out and use the exact same sales pitch with the commercial clarification that the product doesn't exist yet to validate, will people actually buy this, and sell it as if it exists and see if people get to the line and say, yeah, if you build that, I'll buy it and here's my pre-commitment. I think that's hands down the best way to validate rather than trying to invest in building product then going the other way and be like, oh, do you want to buy this thing that we think that everyone requires?
And just really hope that
definitely want to go the other way around.
Yeah, that makes so much sense to us. It's something we recommend as well. We recommend user interviews, but I like taking that up to the next level and going, right, would you actually pay for this?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'll put you in my CRM, and then once it's built, I'll be calling you again. And we'll solve that problem for you.
Absolutely.
Cool. Phil from Tanda, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and we'll catch you later.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.